Hello there, this is Sherman. Thanks for all the engagement, everybody. Again, my purpose is to leave a legacy by positively impacting people. Got off a conversation through Facebook, actually Instagram Messenger, and I was talking with someone about kind of aspirations for what they want from a career standpoint. Now, this is a high school kid, just graduating here and looking at what he wants to do. And so my advice to him was, number one, first find out what you want to do. Right? And you might not know exactly, okay, this is my career purpose, this is my purpose in life. I'm not going to that depth yet, right? Because you're 18 and I understand you have much of the world to kind of see before you. But his idea was, okay, I'm going to punt college and just go work at a company. And I said, well, first, before you do that, first think, when it comes to education, you typically go there for a specific education or specific knowledge base, right? So if I want to become an attorney or I want to become a doctor, think about those that have skills, or you want to get a specific trade, right? So I want to become a welder or a machinist, I want to work in HVAC, an electrician or a plumber. I have to go to a specific school to be able to get those specific skills. Now, if I want to run more social media and I like where the media is going from a standpoint of Instagram, Facebook, I have a knack for creating videos and editing them. I have a lot of hustle and drive, and I can basically showcase that as my portfolio where I've been able to showcase my own personal brand, right? Because that's really what it comes down to. The resume is really, it's January 5th, 2017. You heard it here, you probably heard it other places. Resumes are basically dead. They're on life support. If not, they're basically going out of the way. I was just talking to my brother-in-law over the break, and he was telling me that the way he got his job, he was living in Houston at the time, interviewing for jobs. A company out in San Antonio saw a link that he had put on his resume. Now, what it was is an unlisted YouTube video that he had gotten where he was an attorney, and it showed his opening, his argument, and also his closing as an attorney. And of course, everything that needed to be kept confidential was kept confidential. This person called him up and wanted an interview, liked what he saw in the YouTube video. Now, that's exactly where things are going, right? So if you can leverage social media as your resume, as your portfolio, so people can get a feel of who you are, what you stand for, and actually the work that you're doing, especially when it comes to social media or even design work, then it's going to be a lot easier for them to be able to trust you because, man, I can see it right there, right? The downside of resumes is that it's black and white. You're basically telling a one-sided story. If I call your companies, a lot of times from a legal standpoint, they're just going to say, well, they worked from this time to this time and that was it. They won't even go to the details of what you got paid, how you were as an employee, would they hire you back again? A lot of times they're just getting away from that because they don't want to be seen as being showing favoritism towards one employee over the other. So the other thing in talking about going to college from high school is that there's a huge amount of life experience that you're going to get. There's going to be that adulting that we've talked about in the past, where you are going to be living on your own. You're going to be living with roommates. You're going to deal with the difficulties of dealing with people that aren't of your family, right? They're leaving dirty dishes. They're leaving socks in the door. They ate your food. You need to be able to experience that from a life standpoint. You need to get out from under the umbrella of mom and daddy, and you need to be able to start making some decisions on your own. So I think there's a lot of value from a life experience standpoint to be able to run at that. From a college or from a technical perspective. If you go to a tech school, you can also get that if you get a little bit away from home, or if mom and dad kind of kick you out the door and say, hey, go get a roommate, you're no longer welcome here. The other thing that I think about is if you decide to put off school because you just don't think that school is the way that you learn, you still need to figure out how do you learn, right? Are you more auditory? Are you more visual? Are you more kinesthetic? You need to touch things. You need to be able to find that out and be able to recognize that once you go out into the marketplace, who you're ultimately selling is you. And what do you bring to the table? Just because you say you have hustle doesn't matter. Because until we see it, then it's not going to add any value to us. And just because you say you can get it done, we don't necessarily believe you because if history has shown us, the average employee is more like a bell curve. That there's very few in the top 10% that can run and hustle, they can take on projects, they work in autonomy. There's the big chunk, probably about 60% there in the middle that are just average, humdrum. They're good. They're great. They're good employees. You know what I mean? They can get stuff done. But then the tail end, those are people that just kind of stink. Like they're whiners, they're complainers. They don't get the job done. They're always looking for blame for somebody else. They don't take accountability or ownership, and so you're constantly telling them what to do. And so if you decide to push off a lot of that knowledge base and that experience from college, you better be ready to bust your hump and work just as hard as if you were in school, as if you were in medical school, busting 80 hours in a week to be able to catch up to your counterparts, right? Because when you get in that entry-level job, if you're working at someone else that's 4 years a degree, so now you're 18 or 19 going into your first career, they're already 21 or 22. So they're already, from a life experience standpoint, ahead of you. And so you need to bust your hump. You need to learn a lot because you are missing a huge gap in regards to life experience compared to that other person. And you'll be surprised at how much is missing. So before you decide to make one step or the other, going into debt for college, taking that scholarship for college, going to a tech school, going out of college, going to the state school, going straight for a job, or setting out on your own and starting your own career. Have an idea of what you want to do, have an idea of what your strengths are, and have a better idea of what you don't want to do, and avoid that at all costs. Have a fantastic day, everybody.